I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to
Who's going to break Hastings' world title?
Oh, he's done it! And look at these two go! Itchy Hoy is going to do it! His first victory!
The World Championship is done.
What a race it's been!
Hello everybody and welcome to the FSR VCO World Championship for round number 7 here from Monza. We're coming towards the end of another great season and we take our chances now at the Temple of Speed, the third last round of this season. It doesn't quite have such the high speed that it used to, this circuit, but much of its character remains. The big braking zone into the chicanes really characterise this circuit in the modern day, and it's still a very challenging race for all of the drivers. Over the course of the FSR season so far, it's been about staying in the slipstream, DRS and all of those games, but that is not going to go away by any means here today. It's going to be a very, very interesting race indeed for 53 laps over the course of the Italian Grand Prix. Welcome along, everybody. My name's Ewan. I'm alongside Cameron Rodger here for this broadcast this evening, and we're very excited for this one, Cam. We've got a close championship on the line. We've got a great circuit and a very tactical race ahead of us.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this one. Of course, we have the resurgence of Colin Spork winning the previous 2 races. He's really coming for the likes of Jordan and SimRacing at the top of the championship. So it's going to be a very interesting race because, of course, at the end of this race, there's only going to be 60 points left on the table, which is starting to get to that squeaky bum time. And this race is going to be very important with how the championship looks after this race.
Absolutely. It is 53 laps around here for the race at Monza, the 7th round of the FSR VCO World Championship for 2023. We'll go to Suzuka at the start of October, which precedes our finale at beautiful Interlagos. We're very much looking forward to having that one back, because where else would you have a championship finale? That's the rest of our schedule here for this season. It's a bit of a reduced schedule, but it's been not short on action by any means over the course of this season. So we've very much enjoyed it so far. Let's have a look at the points just before we go into qualifying here, because we're not far away from the session beginning. Ewan SimRacing leads by 13 points over Dennis Jordan, who took a bit of a hit and has taken a couple of hits actually in the last couple of rounds after his couple of wins early on in the first half of the season. Jake Dennehan is still consistently running in third after his opening round win back at Bahrain. And Colin Spork, as Cam just alluded to there, is on a bit of a resurgence. The top 4 ahead of the rest, really, with David Rodger there in 5th, looking to help himself and Ewan SimRacing to a team's title this season, possibly. Petr Burliak looking to keep Alpine eSports in that race as well from 6th. Alex Siebel with his first non-top 10. Don't know, I just better say that. First time outside the top 10, I think is better. For more than 3 years in the FSR VCO World Championship. Yannick Bock, Adam Maguire and Jonas Braxup round out the top 10. So we move forward into qualifying in a moment. Cam, excuse me. And it was a surprise, I've got to say, when I was looking at the results from the last couple of rounds, and not only to see the resurgence of Colin Sport, which is, I think, less of a surprise. The biggest surprise to me was seeing Alex Siebel finish in 19th place in a race. That hasn't happened for more than 3 years, and he'll be very disappointed that run of top 10s that he was cherishing so much is unfortunately got away, and he's going to take quite some time for him to build that kind of run up again.
One of the things that Alex really sort of did well in the last couple of years was the consistency, not just in this championship, but other championships as well. That's his main trait. So let's see how this one goes, as that is not the racing line. Get back on the track. There we go. Look at the screen just before working his way up to start. This qualifying session is going to be tight as ever, because there's really only 6 corners around this track. So there's not too many opportunities for differences between the drivers, and Alex Siebel especially. He was one of those drivers who struggled a little bit in the qualifying last time, got caught up in some incidents in that lap 1, which is also an issue here with that very tight braking zone into the first chicane.
You mentioned that there's not very many corners around here, but do you buy into the idea that Monza is an easy circuit as a result? Because I personally think in qualifying it's one of the hardest, because there are so few places to make your time, and you get a lot of pressure on yourself when you're going into these chicanes.
I agree. It's difficult. These chicanes, look at those big anti-cuts. You're trying to avoid them. You're trying to get to the absolute limit of the track on the left-hand side as well. Let's look into Lesmo 1. How wide is SimRacing going to go? All the way up towards all, not even quite onto the second curb. And once again, how wide does he go? Again, just using those curbs. You've got to go millimetre perfect to not get the car bouncing around. The momentum onto the straights is so important. If the car's bouncing, you're not accelerating. The energy is going vertically, not in a straight line, and therefore you're going to be losing some time through a scar as well, trying to get as close to flat out as possible. Get on the push to pass down the back straight.
These cars so quick. We're expecting times to be in the low 120s. Maybe, Cam was speculating before the broadcast, we could see a high 19 here from one of the top contenders who might be able to take pole in the World Championship here this evening. Yoni Simicic is going to be one of the last drivers to actually come across the line here, but he will punch in a good time. You can bet about that. And already into the 19s. Wow, he just about makes it. Only 3 thousandths below, of course, but that is a benchmark for the others to beat.
Certainly is, and look who's right next to him on the front row as it stands. Colin Spork, winner of the previous 2 races, and he said in the interviews after the race he is absolutely pushing for this, but as it stands he is 25 thousandths of a second off Simicic. Simicic will be loving that one, getting inside the 19s on that first lap. We'll now have a couple more opportunities. You've got enough time for 3 laps around here. Let's see what they can do. A couple drivers starting their laps as well. And somebody who's actually just gone in the pit lanes. Adam Maguire. So R8G are back. They've had a couple of races off after their double DNF in Silverstone. They are back. They've signed Martin Mergley, who's moved over from Visceral to replace Liam Duval. And the two of them are now going to have a bit of a resurgence. They were up there at the top of the championship in the first couple of races, but they've now dropped down to 5th after missing the last 2.
Yeah, Mergley's looking great, actually. 4th place in the opening times there. Still over 5 minutes to go, and don't forget, we don't have the limit on lap times anymore, or lap numbers, if you like, in qualifying in FSR anymore, at least not for 2023 anyway. So you can do it as many times as you want, and they will do around this circuit, which is relatively short. But you mentioned there that Spork is, targeting the defence of his world title here, and I mean, that's absolutely correct. We were commentating on the, well, you weren't, Cam, but I was on the Virtual Endurance Championship at this very circuit a couple of weekends ago. And Colin Sport wasn't even driving there because his focus is solely on the VCO World Championship here this season and his defence of it. And that just shows how much commitment he's putting into it, because he couldn't even afford his team a stint or 2 in the Virtual Endurance Championship. And he won't be able to in a few weekends' time either, when the next race will be just 6 days after the next round of this championship. So for the next couple of rounds of the VC season, he won't be competing because of this very title. He's really focusing on his title defence.
He certainly is, and that's what we like to see, though, is a really hard-fought championship, and it's working well. His teammate, Peter Berlak, though, down in 11th place, for almost half a second off. He'd pretty decent qualifying last time out, but the rest of the season he has struggled a little bit. Let's see what Sport can do now on this lap. Remember, no DRS this year. As you see, the rear flap is not opening. No DRS zones here at Monza. So just the hybrid push pass to be used. But once again, you have 55 seconds per lap available deployment. And of course, because of all the straights here, you don't have enough seconds. So you have to turn the push to pass off at the end of the straights to make sure you don't run out coming out of the final corner.
We'll go into the tactics in the race with regards to push to pass a little bit more later on, as Colin Spork does go quickest in the first sector. Purple, that's a big slide on the way out of the Della Rodger, and that is the end of that. He wasn't wasting any time there. He knew immediately that he wasn't going to set the fastest time. Yoni Simicic might well do, though. He's got only just over 3.5 minutes. It's going to be quite tight for making a third and final attempt at this for Simicic, but he might not need it. He's gone purple in the first sector. Now he backs out of it. Well, neither of them particularly pleased with their second time.
Very interesting. Both set purple times. And after just one chicane more of driving, they backed out of it. That just shows you how close the margins are. If you see in your Delta that you go half a tenth down, they will know whether they can make that up because they are so on the limit of what they can do in these cars. And of course, Jan's Brakshock not too far off, just a tenth behind. He's at a pole position this season, but unfortunately has generally dropped back in the race with some wrong strategy. Let's see what he can do today. On the practice server a few hours ago, he actually, I think he did an 18.9, so a second faster, but that was with some slipstream from a friend. I don't think we're going to be getting to that, but he's certainly feeling confident and trying to put some scaring thoughts into the other drivers.
I'm still waiting for the day when I can say Jonas Brakshock is an FSR World Championship race winner, because the day has been it's been teetering on the edge of coming for quite some time, I've got to say, and we've still not quite got there. Last season had a couple of podiums, was even second at the Japanese Grand Prix. No podiums this season, unfortunately, because as you say, he's qualified a lot better than he's raced this season, unfortunately, but he does have 5 podiums to his name in FSR World Championship history, and still waiting for the day when he can get that win. Great qualifier though, Jonas Brakshock, and he has 4 pole positions already. Looking for another one here, just over a tenth down on Jonas Simicic so far, and he does a personal best in the first sector, but he's a lot smoother through the chicane than Simicic and Sport were on their previous lap times.
Let's see how much risk he wants to take. That's quite a lot in the first Lesmo. What about the second one, getting it down into the apex, using all the road? That was nice, and getting the momentum onto this back straight. Just effectively 2 corners to go. If you see you're up on your Delta, then it's very scary coming into this highly committed Ascari chicane. How much you want to do? Purple in the middle sector for Brakshock now as he comes up to the Parabolica. Good exit onto the back straight as well.
Let's see if he can pull it out the bag. We said that it might require a 1:19.9, maybe a 19.8 if you can manage it here to get on pole for the Italian Grand Prix. Well, it's going to be a very, very tall order for everybody here, but Jonas Brakshock may well have just done it. It's a wonderful lap from the looks of it. What's the time going to be? Oh, it's just as wonderful. A 19.8 for Jonas Brakshock, and he goes to the top of the tree. 1/10 ahead of Simicic and Spork, who now have a lot of work to do and a real rabbit to pull out of the hat here. Colin Sport can't even prove on his personal best in the first sector, and it was a scruffy second chicane as well.
This is going to be very difficult. Of course, it's still a front row for Simicic as it stands. Third place for Spork is not too bad. But if they want to get that pole position, they want to be leading in towards turn 1, they need to do something in these final few sectors. Second sector coming up just as we go under the bridge. What is Spork going to be doing in towards Ascari? Can he do anything? No, he can't. He's down in the middle sector as well.
Jonas Simicic hasn't even started his final lap time just yet, by the way, and he will just about get round in time, but he's going to be the last one to possibly jump over Brakshock, maybe Dennis Jordan as well, who's gone purple in the first sector, but surely it's not going to be our 2022 world champion. He's struggling here. He backs off through the Parabolica. It's going to be inside of the second row at best for the Alpine eSports driver. He pulls into the pit lane full of disappointment. Time now elapses. There's Jonas Simicic. He's making his way around the Curva Grande. Dennis Jordan is making his way towards Ascari. He's going quite quickly right now. Can he get ahead of Colin Spork, maybe?
Yeah, Jordan, just 1 corner to go now in towards Parabolica. It's so difficult, that final corner, if you want to be holding on to that. But Simicic, he's also down that first sector, as you say, but it's still a solid one with a 0.7. But Jordan, he's got a 0.6 in that first sector. What can he do out of the final corner? He's trying to challenge Simicic for the championship. Can he get ahead on the grid here at Monza? Yes, no, not quite third place. I thought he just got it. In the end, he gets off fourth lead.
So close. 25 thousandths separate second to fourth at the moment. 3 championship contenders covered by a very small margin, and Jonas Simicic doesn't look like he's going to get away from that. Jonas Brakshock looks like he's going to take pole here at the Italian Grand Prix as Jonas Simicic makes his way into the Parabolica for the final time. Surely even he can't perform this kind of miracle, because it really would have to be out over the line now for the 3-time world champion. He can't improve. Wow, it was a good final sector, but it wasn't good enough. It was only 6 thousandths slower than his previous best, and that was Jake Dennehan doing a very interesting trip over the line there. He's 6th alongside Devin Roschek for the Italian Grand Prix. What a qualifying session that was. But it's Jonas Brakshock who takes pole, his 5th in FSR VCO World Championship history. and what a lap it was from him as well. A 1:19.8 is just unachievable for most people, but Jonas Braksuk can do it, and he's taken pole by just over a tenth at Monza.
8 and a bit tenths covering the top 25 drivers, which is all but Jukka-Pekka Laulu being just over a second outside. So really close lap times as you would expect here at Monza, and even half a second covering the top 13. Awesome scenes. It's going to be a very tight race. It's going to be so difficult, so tense for these drivers. And we've got all of the top drivers in the championship up towards the front as well. Simičić, Jordan, Spork, who really are the ones fighting for it. But then, of course, Denahan as well. They are all inside the top 6. Let's see how this race goes.
We just do not know what way this race is going to go. And let's just talk a little bit about the race and the difficulties that they're going to have. You mentioned earlier, Cam, that first of all, the times are going to absolutely skyrocket in terms of the actual lap times. We could lose 5 seconds a lap in terms of race pace compared to what we've just seen. It could look very slow compared to that qualifying that we've just had that was absolutely breathless, but also there's going to be a lot of management going on over the course of the race. You're going to have to manage your energy because while there's no DRS here, there will be a lot of slipstream. You will have to use a lot of the electrical energy that's been introduced to FSR for the first time in 2023. But there's a lot of straights around here, as we all know, and not very many places where you can actually recover energy.
Yeah, so the main issue with this track is you have 4 long straights, but you don't have that many braking zones in comparison for the length of the amount of deploying that you need to do. You don't have the same amount of regen, and the issue with that is basically that you won't basically be able to stick behind something. You won't be able to use that push to pass, but we'll get to that in a few moments' time.
Let's have a look at the grid for the Italian Grand Prix then, shall we? Because the race for 53 laps is about to get underway very shortly. Jonas Braksuk and Jiri Simičić will be on the front row together with Dennis Jordan and Colin Spork on row 2. What a lineup that is inside the top 4. 5th and 6th will be David Mocek and Jake Denahan. As Cam mentioned, the top 4 in the championship all inside the top 6 for the opening of this race. Martin Mergley in his debut for RHE eSports in 2023 is alongside Mitchy Hoyer on row 4. Alex Siebel's back inside the top 10, at least in qualifying, with Matthew Williams in 10th. Petrobel Electrospis is out there with Luke Mounier for Visceral Esports in 12th. Then on row 7, it's Cosmo Prosciutto, Pro Series champion from 2022, alongside Adam Maguire. Damian Scrovon's down in 15th ahead of Sander Callis. They're on row 8 together. 17th will be Jan Grankvist, who joined the session very late, actually, but he's here. The 2 race cars of Panzer and Reminick are in 18th and 19th. Darius Andre is the second of the Visceral Esports drivers in 20th. Giordano Valeriano is alongside Zolk Zooks on row 11, ahead of Kostas Van Bukas and Mark Suter, who are on row 12. Not a good day for virtual drivers by TX3, unfortunately. They're both outside the top 20. Same can be said for Valley Esports. Stavros Mercedes is 25th. Jukka-Pekka Laulu is 26th, with Netrex and virtual drivers by TX3 sharing row 14. And then we have Danny van der Neep and Adam Pinchas to round out the top 30. We do eventually get all our 30 but some of them joining in really rather late here this evening.
Yeah, there's a few reserves as well, so they weren't in that qualifying session. But yeah, it's good to see that even at this stage of the championship, we're getting all of the reserve drivers being filled. Of course, naturally, as season goes on, some of the full-time drivers drop off, or they have other commitments and such. But yeah, at least there's plenty of drivers wanting to fill the grid. But it's certainly, as you're mentioning, Ewan, is going to be a very difficult one. And what we were saying about the hybrid system is that if you fall out of the slipstream of the car ahead of you, which is somewhere around that 1 second marker, you have to use a lot of push to pass to get back into the car ahead, into the slipstream of the car ahead. But if you are using more than you're regenning, then obviously at some point in 5-10 laps time, you're not going to have enough battery. So the management of sticking in the slipstream of the car ahead is going to be so crucial that you're going to have to be very clever with when you make your overtakes.
And what about the tyre strategy here as well? Tyres are often forgotten about at Monza simply because the wear is so low, but we have got very soft compounds here, and even the hard tyres aren't going to be able to go tremendously long.
Yes, we've got the C5, 4 and 3, so the softest compounds that we have. The mediums, the hards, I should say, they can still go 20 plus laps, 25 plus laps, which is not enough for a one stop around here. So it's going to be a 2-stop. Likely 2 hards and a medium, but when you use that medium stint, as ever, is going to be the interesting one. Most drivers will probably leave it to the end, but the undercut is very powerful around here because the tyres, after the first 4 or 5 laps, they drop, sort of off a shelf, but then they plateau and they stay for so long. But those first 4 or 5 laps, if you can get an undercut with that, that is going to be very crucial for the track position around here, which ultimately, if you're 10th in a train, but everyone is nose to tail, if you gain 2 seconds, you're gaining about 4 or 5 places.
Yeah, drop off a shelf and onto another one for a little while. But yes, it's going to be a very interesting race to find out where you use that medium stint. We have seen some strange things in the past. And, I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise to see someone start the race on mediums just to think, well, to hell with it. Let's see what I can do here off the start. Let's see if we get anybody being brave and doing that, trying to defend from the front. I somehow doubt it. And judging by if the early indications that I'm getting at the moment are to be believed, then nobody has gone for my completely idiotic wild strategy, which is probably sensible, really. And they're all going to start on the hards, but we'll wait and see if that is the case. We are on the formation lap, by the way. We're not missing the start. And it's Jonas Braxop who's leading them around. 5th pole position for him in FSR VCO World Championship history here, Cam. Is today going to be his day where he gets his first win, though?
Oh. Let's see. In terms of the tyre strategy, they're not going sort of to the limit on the tyres, so he should be able to hold on to them, because we do know he's one of the more aggressive drivers, the likes of your Simicic, your Jordan, your Sporks. One thing that they're good at is when you have to stretch out the tyres for 5 laps, they manage to keep the pace, whereas Braxop sometimes can struggle with that. So let's see. The biggest thing that we've seen for him, though, as well, is also the push-to-pass strategy. If you use way too much of your battery in the first 5 laps, then you spend laps 5 to 10 regenning. Everyone behind you is just going to start freight training you past. So, yeah, let's see if he tries effectively too hard to keep the lead, then he might ruin his battery.
Absolutely. It's always a slight concern for everybody. By the way, down the back, in case you're not recognising some of the drivers, we do have a lot of reserves towards the back of the field. Adam Pinches is stepping in for Mika Hakimi for Arnaj Brabham. Danny van der Neet is in place of Kolof Martin. Peter Vagapov is in place of Yannick Bock for Virtual Drivers by TX3. Giannis Leonos is in case of Jan Bosnitsa at the back as well. So the back 4 drivers all stepping in for people who are not here today, unfortunately. There they are at the back of the field. A big change for Virtual Drivers by TX3 as well. If you remember back to Bahrain, I think we were doing the race together. They hit each other on the opening lap, of course, but they did both qualify inside the top 10, and that's absolutely not the case here.
Yeah, Yannick Bock's not doing this race, so I don't know if maybe he also didn't practice, or maybe sort of not working with Schleuter's stuff. That could potentially be a factor, because as we know, Yannick, he is able to be up towards the front. In fact, did get a podium actually, I think, back in Silverstone, so he definitely knows what he's doing, but not here today. And with how close it is in this championship, if you are missing a few tenths a lap, you are going backwards and backwards. Adam Maguire on the soft compound tyres, are you having a laugh? Please tell me either that's a graphical error or he's forgot to change it after qualifying.
It's someone's mistake, isn't it? It's got to be someone. The graphics has got to have made the error.
I think basically after qualifying, you have to manually go and select. Obviously, you have softs for qualifying. You have to manually go and select hards for your starting tyre. I wonder if he's made an error there. He's going to be very fast, at least in the first 10 laps, but he won't get much further than that.
I'm quite excited to see what he's going to do with the first 10 laps, to be honest with you. But let's see what he does. Of course, he could throw a spanner in the works for RHG eSports, who are not really involved in the championship battle anymore, unlike they were earlier on in the season. The Italian Grand Prix set to get underway from the Temple of Speed at Monza. Jonas Braxop on the front with 3-time champion Jerne Simicic alongside him. The lights are coming on now. We're ready to go racing for the 7th time in 2023. The revs rise and we're underway for the Italian Grand Prix. It's even for Jonas Braxop and Jerne Simicic into turn 1, but the Slovenian has the inside line and may well have the lead as well. Outside line for the Arnage drivers. It's contact into turn 1. Spork with a bit of a slide as he's alongside Dennis Jordan. Out the first chicane, Jonas Braxop holds on to the lead with Colin Spork up to 3rd. He's got the inside for the Curva Grande and he's through on the Ferrari driver through the Curva Grande in towards the Della Roggia for the first time as well. Jonas Braxop converts pole position to early lead with Simicic, Spork, Jordan and Dennehan the top 5.
all single file in this front pack, but maybe they're side by side. Adam Maguire trying to go side by side, Mergler I should say side by side, in towards the first Lesmo, as there's now Peter Burlak trying to get up the inside, the visceral car of Munir in towards the second Lesmo. It seems to be a pretty calm start actually up towards the front, but in the background actually that's Adam Maguire trying to make moves on those softs.
Adam Maguire is going to be scything his way through the field here like we've not seen all season long, but he's got to, because he is indeed on the soft tyres. He's around the outside at Ascari indeed. Everybody else trying to take care of those hards, and there's contact in the background. Off the road from Remenek, I think it was, maybe, no it wasn't indeed. He's gotten through it. It's chaos in the background though. At least two drivers spinning around at Ascari after some contact, I'm afraid. And front and rear wing gone for Zolt Zooks, Giordano Valeriano and Jan Krankvist are also involved.
Yeah, I think I saw Skovron dropping down the way as well, so he was involved in that one. Unfortunately, when you crash at a corner like that, it's a blind corner, so everyone coming in behind just can't see, and very difficult to avoid that one. As we get some battles in towards turn number one, that's Matt Williams trying to sort of defend and make some moves around Peter Burlak. Can't quite get through there as Adam Maguire sits in behind. It looks like everyone's pretty much staying close together up towards the front, but look out for some splintering. If you start seeing a second or so between some drivers, they lose the slipstream and they'll be going a lot slower than the other cars behind.
So top 6 or so are very close together. Well, I say that, it's probably a little bit more than that. The top 10 or so in a bit of a train at the moment, but how long is that going to stay on for? Because there is battling going on further towards the back, like we just saw with Peter Burlak and Matthew Williams there. Williams now under a bit of pressure from Maguire, but they are the leaders. Jonas Braksok leads ahead of Jurne Simicic, then Colin Spork, Dennis Jordan, Jake Delahan, David Rodger, the top 6. Mitchy Hoyer's up there as well, by the way, in a great performance from him so far. It's not really been his season. He's only 15th down in the standings, and he's still yet to finish inside the top 5 all season long. It's a very different feel to this season to when he started. I think it was 2 seasons ago, wasn't it? 2021, where he won the first 3 races or so, did Mitchy Hoyer. That all of a sudden seems like a very long time ago. Jurne Simicic gets close to the back of Jonas Braksok on the way down towards turn 1. Wasn't expecting to see battling for the lead this early on, but the 3-time champion has a look in towards turn 1, and he is menacing on the back of the leader at the moment.
The issue for him, he's got Spork all over his gearbox, so it's either attack or be attacked. He's actually lost some time though, coming out of turn 2, now through Curva Grande. He's actually managed to reclaim that gap. So when you see down the straights, the gaps will ebb and flow. As you saw Simicic, he closed that gap up. That's just using a little bit more hybrid than Sport behind, and those gaps will be ever changing on the straight, because if you're not pressing the button, you're pretty stable. You sort of get to a VMAX at just over 300 k's an hour. You can't really accelerate too much more, even on the low downforce that we've got. As soon as you press the button, you just go up to like 310 and you can overtake. So you'll see those gaps change very, very quickly if they use the button.
Braksok just extends that leading margin to 7/10. As by the way, as I'm sure you can see on the left-hand side, Yukipeka Lalu's now out of the race as well. I think you were noting a moment ago, Cam, that we've already seen 8 drivers down pit lane, which is unheard of, really.
Yeah, unfortunately, so many cars got collected in that one. We had Grankvist, Valeriano, Jux, Van den Eet, Skovron, Lalu, and I think Leonos as well, all involved in that one. Maybe Prosciutto as well. Quite a few drivers, unfortunately, and they're going to be having to just circulate and see what they can do. Hope for some DNFs a little bit further up, but still 50 laps to go in the Italian Grand Prix, and the top 10 are all slipstreaming each other and trying to find out what they're going to do in the strategy. It looks like Spork is happy to sit there in 3rd place, but they're starting to bunch up in the top 5.
Yeah, top 20 get points, by the way, in FSR these days, so there's still plenty of reason to carry on, as the 2 RG eSports are being a bit of a menace at the moment. Matthew Williams is alongside Adam Maguire right now, who's causing trouble of his own. He's starting the race on the soft tyres, and he's just making use of it, making use of what he's got. I'm not sure how long this is going to last for him, Cam, but right now he's going to be feeling like he's the best driver in the world. He's going to be scything through the field. He's back into the top 10 very nearly. He's just on the back of his teammate now.
Oh yeah, he'll have a massive pace advantage at this point. The issue is, by lap 10 his tyres are going to be done, especially on this high fuel. He'll still be able to go hard to the end from there, so it's not completely over. The issue is that this is his stint where he needs to make up the positions, because later on, when other people go onto the mediums, they'll be faster than him on the hards. So he needs to make the places now while he's still got those tyres in check. The issue is they are going to start overheating, and that could be a bit of an issue for him. But look at all the cars ahead in this train. If he can pick off one by one, it might actually work out. But yeah, everyone at this moment in time sitting pretty, saving their battery, making sure that Janos is just dragging them around still. And then when we get a bit further into stint, some moves will start to be had.
I think Sport looks good here, to be honest with you. Sport looks very good in third place. Is he even going for a move, or is he going to save the battery? He's in two minds himself by the looks of it. Simic almost attacks in defence, if you know what I mean. He attacks Braxo in defence of his second place. For Colin Sport there, it's all getting so close. Everybody, it's such a weird position to be in the race. We've been in this situation a lot in the VCO World Championship in 2023, where you're sort of sat behind the leader, you're saving everything, and in the last stint, the race just goes crazy. We're in that waiting period for the moment, but it doesn't make anybody less nervous. I mean, this is the biggest leading group we've had all season long, pretty much, but that's not too much of a surprise given the circuit we're at.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same in the pro race just a little bit earlier this evening, this afternoon as well. I started in like 17th place or something, and one by one just slowly worked up the train to about 6th place by the end of the first stint. As people start battling, gaps open up, and then what you have to do is if you see the gap 2 cars ahead of you opening up, you need to start making moves, because you can't let that gap, you have to fill that gap basically. You can't let it start getting away, and that's how you have to slowly one by one. So what Spork was doing there as well, coming to turn 1 last time around, he was trying to make Yerne maybe waste some push to pass to hold on to that place. It's a bit of a cat and mouse act as well. So there's definitely a lot of tactics. There's going to be a lot of tension, especially by the end of this race when the opportunities start coming. But for now, Simic is just going to hope that they sit in his formation. But if Sport catches him, it might work out.
Yeah, lots of tension. Some of it from the commentary box, to be honest, over the course of this one. Dennis Jordan looks down the inside as well. They're all trying to outfox each other at the moment. As you said, cat and mouse is a perfect way to describe it, really. Not a lot actually happening, but a lot happening at the same time, if you see what I mean. Because there's a lot of mind games happening at the front of the field. There are the two RHE eSports drivers, by the way. Maybe the shine just being taken off Adam Maguire's tyres already here, and he seems to be a little bit stuck behind his teammate. Not sure whether he's just staying there because he doesn't really want to interrupt his teammate, or whether he really is stuck now because the soft tyres are starting to even out with the hards already.
Yeah, I think it is a situation of that already, as I was mentioning earlier. After 4 or 5 laps, the tyres just sort of have this drop-off. It's not massive, but it's enough where you can't quite keep that pace. But then they do stay pretty consistent as long as you don't overheat them. The issue is once you get that drop of the grip, you then start overturning the steering wheel into some corners. You start pushing the tyres a little bit more. Then that's a snowball effect because then you heat up the tyres and they get even less grip. So that lap around sort of 5, 6, 7 of a stint is very crucial for the longevity of the tyres. As we come a little bit further back, Remenak for race clutch in his reserve. He's in that 18th place. They've dropped off Schluter, and this is a difficult place now because he's lost that slipstream and he's going to have Van Bucas all over the back of him.
Yeah, so that's going on a little bit further back. The top 15 are still right at together here for now. Includes both visceral cars, Darius Andre and Luke Mounier, who are just falling away actually. Sander Callis is clinging on to the back as well in 15th place. There are the leaders again. The top 12 are definitely still together here. Includes 2 Burst eSport next few cars and Michi Hoyer's Burst eSport car as well. By the way, Hoyer's teammate Skrovron, I believe, is out of the race already here. And I think that shows a little bit... Oh no, he is still in the race, but he's a lap down actually. But I think that shows what a big incident it was at Ascari on the opening lap cam, because Skrovron qualified 15th and he seems to have got caught up in it, so it happened quite high up the field.
I feel so sorry for Damien. As you see, his 3 teammates are up inside the top 7, but he just hasn't quite had... We saw him it was actually at this race last season, the Italian Grand Prix. He was fighting for the win alongside his teammate Hoyer and the 2... what car are they? Red Bull, wasn't it, last season with Jordan and Siebel before moving to Ferrari. 4 of them had a really good battle. Unfortunately, Skrovron is fighting for the lead, got a pit lane penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and he just hasn't quite able to get those extra few tenths this season. He's been really struggling, and when you go into the mid-pack, you get caught up in these accidents, and there's so many times, I think Montreal, Barcelona, and obviously here today again, just gets involved in those first lap accidents.
Yeah, he's not finished any of the last 2 races, and I think just wants to get this one on the board, to be honest, as a finish, because it's been DNF for the last 2, and he's still yet to finish inside the top 10 this season, on the back of a season where he finished 10th in the overall standings, of course. So, unfortunately, it's been a bit of a sideways, maybe even backwards step for Demian Skrovron in 2023. I really thought he would move on up to get a little bit closer to his teammates in 2023, to be honest, but unfortunately that hasn't happened. I don't want to just send this into a Burst eSports stream, Cam, but I do want to mention Vichy Hoyer as well. I know you wouldn't mind that, but I'm trying to keep the neutrality, if that's a word, to this broadcast. Vichy Hoyer is still 7th, which is a good performance from him, because he's not quite been at his best so far this season. He's down in 15th in the standings with only 2 top 10s to his name so far.
Yeah, he missed a couple of races, unfortunately, so that doesn't help his championship position. He's in a good battle, actually, with his 2 teammates that he's right next to at the moment, Mrocek and Simicic, towards the end of last race in Spa, but unfortunately he crashed at the top of Radion with a bit of a mistake with a couple of laps to go. So he's definitely got some speed this year, but of course he's just quite busy, so he hasn't had exactly the same preparation time as his teammates, which is why he's sort of further back than he would have wanted, but 7th place would still be good, and he's in a very nice place as it stands. Look at those top 4 almost pushing each other towards turn 1. They're looking, I don't think they're actually going to make an overtake, but they're trying to make it look like they are and try and force their opponent into a mistake.
Well, Simicic actually did, for the first time, properly defend there at the end of 8 laps. He did take a narrow line on the way in, but then again, so did Spork and Jordan on the way in there. So it was all very close, and well, they all make it out the other side. But Braxuk certainly is the cork in the bottle here. Although I don't think with anybody else leading, it would get more spread out. To be honest, it's a very similar pace that they're all holding, as Mark Sluter is off the road and out of the race as well. Looks like we've got another DNF. We could already have 6 DNFs in this race. I think we do, already have 6 DNFs from this race after not even 10 laps yet. So it's been a very attritional one further down the back. Hearing, I think, from Jan Grankvist in the YouTube chat, by the way, that maybe it was him and Skrovron who made contact on the opening lap to set off the incident itself. We're not entirely sure, of course, but it has resulted in 6 DNFs already, and a very attritional Italian Grand Prix so far. Jonas Braxuk still leads it, though. He completes his 9th lap now for Arnage Brabham in the lead, and Jone Simicic still very close behind. Are we going to see movement this time? Is Simicic going to attack in order to defend from those behind? Well, no, they're not even as close as they were on the last lap, because you're right, last time the 4 of them were really nose to tail on the way into turn 1.
Yeah, Jordan just having a look there. It's going to be a very interesting race. So we've had another crash. There's an orange car stopped at the final corner. That must be, is it Van Vukas or the other one? Not quite sure. One of the NetRex cars at least.
Not Denahan.
Oh yeah, that's very true. I was trying to remember who it was. Yeah, so it must be Van Vukas. He just had a bit of a spin, unfortunately dropping further back. He's jumped up to the World Championship this year. Unfortunately, he's been paired in the second NetRex team, the NX27 team, with Jake Denahan, who won the preseason championship, won the Stock Car Autumn Championship, and is now, of course, a race winner in the World Championship. So he hasn't quite lived up to the hype of his teammate, and struggling a little bit down there in 20th place.
Yeah, Jake Denahan's had a wonderful season so far, winning the opening round of the season after previously never taking a top 10. He's never finished outside the top 10 this season. He's one of 3 drivers to achieve that. Of course, championship leader Jone Simicic, second place man Dennis Jordan, and Jake Denahan have all finished inside the top 10 on every single round this season. And that run looks like continuing for all 3 of them, in fact. In what order they're going to finish, we do not know. Dennis Jordan's looking stronger as this race goes on, by the way. Colin Spork is going to have a bit of a problem very soon as Adam Maguire comes into the pit lane. He said his tyres wouldn't last more than 10 laps, and they certainly haven't. Jone Simicic is going for it, though. We're too wide, too deep. Dennis Jordan's looking for a move. It's side by side. There's a bit of contact. Simicic can't quite get through, and Spork can't either. Somehow they come out the other side in exactly the same positions, but that was the closest we've got so far after 10 laps.
It's an intriguing one because they don't want to let Braxuk get away, because they don't want to lose that slipstream. You were mentioning earlier about would it be any different if someone else is leading? I don't think it would, because naturally the cars behind gain speed with the slipstream and they can catch up that way. So it's one of those things, you just don't want to lose that slipstream with your battle. So I think this is just a bit more mind games, trying to just stress out the driver around you. And of course, when the opportunities come, sometimes you do have to take them, but they stay in that order for now. But the tension is certainly rising, and the opportunities, therefore, will come their way.
That was Adam Maguire making his way out the pit lane, by the way, on hard compound tyres, but he's got a lot of work to do on his own now for the remainder of this race. We'll see where he comes out, of course, and whether he can get any undercut on these guys. Maybe it will work out for him. 11 laps nearly complete. Jonas Braksuk has led all of them so far as the Hungarian after his 5th pole position in the FSR VCO World Championship history. He makes his way over the line now. It will be quite a while until we see these drivers make their way down pit lane, by the way. On board with Jake Dennehan in towards turn 1. We're nowhere near close enough for a move on Dennis Jordan, who's continuing to try and get Spork to do an overtake, and maybe that's what kicked it all off last time around. Not entirely sure, to be honest. I think Simicic was getting quite close on his own on that last lap. But anyway, they're still absolutely locked together, and they're all still looking so threatening. The latter portion of this race is just going to be absolutely mind-boggling, and we're none the wiser as to who's going to win this race just yet.
I tell you what, Jake Dennehan is sitting in the nicest position in the field. He's got mode check, not really up his gearbox, so he's pretty comfortable with that. And he's just sitting, he's watching these top 4 having a little bit of a squabble over the last couple of laps. He's just chilling, doing his thing, and no pressure from behind. So I think Dennehan might be the one to look out for at some point. But of course, as we get towards that lap sort of 15, lap 20, that's when we're going to start seeing some ideas of pit stops at least coming in, and who wants to take that first pit, because if you pit, even if you're Davin Mocek, you're probably going to be jumping to the front with how powerful the undercut is. So it depends also where you want to be in the line, in the train, in that second stint.
Through the parabolica for the 12th time, approaching 1/3 distance, 1/4 distance of this race. It's pretty close for the lead again. Dennis Jordan looking the closest of the top 6, really. Simicic has a look but won't move. Neither will Jordan, although he'll try and fox Spork into thinking he will. And now the drivers are all going to have a bit of a problem, because Giannis Leonos is just in front of them. Now, how's that going to affect this battle? Is Leonos just going to get out of the way of all of the leaders here and lose a load of time, or is he going to get in the way as a lap car? That could be a race-defining moment.
There is blue flags within the game, and they do penalise. So he will have the information on his screen, and he will have to, a message will come up as well to say that he has to get out of the way. And if I was him, I would get completely out of the way and let everyone come past. I don't know if you remember, was it Tom Oldermenger in Montreal? He literally almost stopped to let the whole train of cars in a similar situation go past on that occasion. And I think he might want to do similar, because he doesn't want to sort of drop back into like 4th, 5th place in this train either. He just needs to get out of the way of all of them.
Of course, he is stepping in for Jan Woznitzer, by the way, in this round, who himself might have been involved in this front train, to be honest, with Woznitzer's previous form, although hasn't really been his season, hasn't quite lived up to what we know he can do. And he has only done one race, to be fair, as well, which doesn't help. As there we are, Leonos, well, he pits. That is a good idea, to be fair. Instead of stopping on the road and losing a load of time, why not come in? The only problem is that when everyone else comes out from their pit stop, he might find himself right where he didn't want to be, in the middle of this train when they all come out.
Yeah, either he's going to sort of undercut them as such, and he's going to go 5-10 seconds up the road, or the other way around. Naturally, these are quicker, and they'll overcut him. So yeah, that one could be interesting when we get to the pit stop phase. But lap 14, as it stands, and the order in the top 9 has not changed since the end of lap 1. So everyone is still sitting pretty. They had an opportunity. All Braksuk starting to go wide there on the exit of the second chicane. Is this the tyres just starting to go away, or is that just a bit of a mistake?
And now Simicic has a great chance to regen. He didn't stay very close through Lesmo 1 there at all, actually, and has lost almost all of that time that he gained there. But he is a very smooth driver, we know, of course, not quite as forceful on the tyres as some others, as we know. And he has, of course, won this championship 3 times already, knows exactly what it takes. But in any of the 3 championships, we didn't have this kind of racing within it. We didn't have electrical energy to think about either. It's a whole new look. FSR VCO World Championship for 2023. Down in towards Parabolica for the 14th time of asking, and a bit of a slide from Dennis Jordan. Is there going to be movement now on the home straight for the Scuderia Ferrari eSports driver? On board we go with him. Colin Sport uses some electrical energy to stay away, and it's been effective. Does he use it to go through? No, not quite, because Rd.7 Simicic is trying to do it. He's down the inside into turn one. Jonas Braxop can't hold on. Oh no, Colin Sport's gone! I don't know if there was contact with Dennis Jordan or not, but he's dropped it on the exit of the first chicane, and the reigning champion falls back as his main rival goes to the lead of the Italian Grand Prix.
And this has actually not worked out for Simicic. He went past because he had to, but now he's leading the train in the position that we said you don't really want to be. So for Spork, although he's lost that time, he's forced Yerne into an awkward position as well. So let's see what Yerne does. Is he going to try and pull away, or is he now just going to try and sit there? This could be an interesting one. I think it's going to be push time for Simicic though. Does Bragshock have any sort of battery power to come with? And this is now the time for Jordan, Denahan. Do they want to follow through on Bragshock and keep up with Simicic?
I don't think Braxop's got much battery power or tyre life left at the moment. He seems to be struggling, and Rd.7 Simicic is out in the lead right now. Is this going to be a gap that can't be caught from all of the others? This could be a big statement for the championship leader in his quest for a fourth title. Down in towards the Parabolica he goes. Braxop just closes back in again. He's for sure using some electrical energy now, but needs to be careful with that. You can't regenerate it very easily around here, of course, and so he needs to stay close, but can't afford to drain his battery in search of that. Further back, Colin Spork has dropped to 9th, by the way, but he is on the back of this train. Is Braxop going to head back down the inside? No, and Dennis Jordan can't follow through whether he wanted to or not.
And this just proves you can't pull away around this track. So Simicic now needs to be a bit clever, not ruin his battery. Now that he's got the lead, he's in such an awkward position as Braxop's teammate Pinchers, I think, has crashed in Lesmo 1 and 2, causing those yellow flags. Hopefully he can get out of the way before the leaders start coming through in a few seconds time. A little bit further back, Siebel's under attack now from Peter Burlak around the outside. Not enough space for two cars. And here comes Colin Sport, gets past his teammate. Can he try and have a think about the Ferrari car as well and towards Lesmo 1? Oh, half a chance, but he gets past his teammate at least.
That was not enough space given by Alex Siebel there, I would argue, for Peter Burlak, the 2015 world champion, of course. That's all of a sudden feeling like quite a long time ago. And yeah, I mean, Siebel there pushed him off the track quite convincingly there for me, and may well get into a bit of trouble for that. But he is remaining in 7th, and Sport gains a place. Now on board with Dennis Jordan. What can he do from this position? Because Braxop's actually picked it back up again. He did seem to be struggling initially when he was behind Simicic, but now he's right behind again. He does seem to be going all right. A decent exit from the Parabolica as well. Maybe he'll even try and take his lead back, or will he just sit there in 2nd place and bide his time for the moment? It is a dangerous place to be, to let Rd.7 Simicic lead an FSR VCO World Championship race, and so maybe he wants to let that go on for as little time as possible. He sort of attacks, sort of defended towards turn 1, and they stay single file.
Being 1st or 2nd is the worst place to be in this train. You want to be 3rd or 4th like Jordan and Denahan are at this point, because Dennis, he can control things. He can do what he did there, force Bragshock to have a bit of a dive. Maybe they crash, then you get a free place, or they just waste their push to pass. Being in that 3rd place is very, very sort of good for these guys, and we're already getting up very quickly towards lap 20. And if you do the maths and dividing the race by 3, including there's going to be 2 hard compounds compared to a medium, we are sort of getting close to that pit stop window. And well, let's see what people are going to do. Is there going to be any big undercuts? Is there going to be any big overcuts? Is there going to be some double mediums? We will surely find out pretty soon.
Yeah, so we're almost on the 1/3 mark of this race now. So if you were to split it into 3 stints, we are expecting 2 stops, by the way. If you were to split it into 3 stints of hard tyres, you'd maybe think about going in now. But of course, you do have to make use of 2 tyre compounds over the course of the day, and so that will be factored into the strategy, and they will run a little bit longer than this. Although there will be thinking about the undercut. I'll be surprised if Simicic is allowed to be the first one into pit lane, but he could be in this train. Make their way down towards turn 1. Braxop not close enough on this occasion. Spork has stabilised in 8th place, by the way, in this race so far. So he's in 8th there. He is just behind Alex Siebel. Siebel just waiting where he is. Wonder what he's going to do for the remainder of this one in terms of making up places again.
Yeah, it's actually not looking too bad for Spork or any of these drivers on the back of the train. They just need to work out how they're going to get forward, because if they sit here until the end of the race, they're just going to finish in P7, P8, whatever it's going to be. So they need to try something to get forward, and they therefore need to be proactive, either making some moves shortly or on the strategy side of things. But especially for Spork, he certainly made life a bit more difficult for himself, but it's so easy to do with this car. When you're coming out of the corner on those low speeds, you want to get on the power, you want to get on the push to pass, and of course maybe a bit of overheating at that point on the rear as well. It's so easy to spin up like he did.
Yeah, Spork just under 4 seconds behind the leader right now. So coming towards the end of 18 laps now. We've still got, 35 to go. I've spoken a lot about David Rodger so far today, but he's sitting comfortably in 5th place. This has been the story of his season, really. Did get a podium at Bahrain, but he's been hanging around this part of the order all season long and just waiting for his opportunity. Petter Burlak is into the pit lane further back, by the way, in the 9th position as Dennis Jordan gets to 2nd. Jonas Brakshock displays. Dennis Jordan fires it down the inside. Oh, goodness me. I think that was accidental more than anything. And Jörg Simicic had to open the steering there just to allow the German on his inside in towards turn 1. The Ferrari driver's into 2nd. Brakshock back to 3rd. And Jake Danahan's very close there in 4th position as well. They'll all have a look in towards the 2nd chicane. Brakshock pushed to 3rd though definitively as Dennis Jordan makes the move.
Yeah, that was attack to defend as such for Jordan. He didn't want Brakshock having an opportunity to go around the outside in turn 1. Simicic fortunately left the space for Jordan, must have seen that one coming, and now they are starting to try and push once again. Brakshock, they're going to hope that he sort of holds up the drivers behind, like Danahan, because if you see, that's worked out pretty well, because the gap between Jordan and Danahan is starting to grow, and we're already on to lap 19. As you say, Burlak's come in already. This might be the time for some others to try and cover off from that undercut.
Yep, this might well be the time. Might well have been a really well-timed pit stop as well from the previous world champion, of course, or a previous world champion from seasons gone past. He's in decent clean air as well, is Burlak. Adam Maguire, by the way, is about 3 seconds in front of him. So is Adam Maguire going to be leading this race in a minute? I think he might be. We'll find out. That'll be a bizarre turn-up for the looks. He's 12th right now. He's been in clean air for a while. He's been on those tyres for a while as well, but he might be leading here soon.
Yeah, the issue is that the drivers coming out on the fresh tyres. We're getting some pitters. Brakshock and Spork have gone in. When we get the pitters come out, they're going to be so much faster than him on 10-lap newer hard tyres. So let's see how that one works out. Meunier as well for Visceral. So this is the start of that pit stop cycle. I'm sure it's going to be hard tyres once again, hard medium, potentially for loads of these drivers. But let's see how this is going to work out. I was saying the undercut should be quite powerful. What's it going to be for Petter Burlak? Yep, he gets back past his Alpine teammate.
Yep. But Spork may well gain generally as a result of that. Adam Maguire's ahead of Jonas Brakshock. I think Adam Maguire's going to be leading this race in a moment. Ahead of Brakshock. Then I think it's going to be Simicic and Jordan probably if they come in this time around. But let's see if they do. Are they going to run it a bit longer? Maybe further than lap 20. This race has just been bizarre in some ways, but very entertaining, and we're nowhere near its conclusion yet either. Still more than half of this one to go at the Temple of Speed. It's the Italian Grand Prix for round 7 of the FSR VCO World Championship for 2023. We're seeing an absolutely classic season with the new cars, the new strategies that have come with the electronic energy for 2023. 3 tyre compounds once again, of course, and you have to use 2 of them over the course of the day, by the way. Hard tyres very much the order of the day so far. Jörg Simicic has to come in and come. Oh no, he doesn't. Well, I thought he was going to cover them off there, but deciding not to. Instead, he's left it to his teammates, Michi Hoyer and David Rodger, to cover those guys off.
Interesting one. Not covering off the undercut. I was expecting that, but maybe, especially with the likes of Spork and Burlak, they were so far behind in the train. If they were 1 car behind, maybe they had to cover off. Maybe they're thinking they can get a lap longer and still having some good track position. But for the effective race lead, Janos Brakshock comes up behind Maguire, and that's going to be an easy pass for him.
It did. Oh, contact. Wow. Adam Maguire goes straight into the side of the Hungarian on the front straight there, as Colin Spork is not going to get in front of Hoyer. Whoa, he dives down the outside. Big bravery. He's over the curbs. He's got over the curbs. He's got across the chicane. Colin Spork there wanted the places. He's going to give that back. Deary me. Spork did not stay close enough to Burlak there at all, and he's lost out on possible gains there indeed. And he's behind both burst cars. By the way, Michi Hoyer's on medium tyres, so he's going to be quick here in the next few laps. But Colin Spork has missed an opportunity here.
Yeah, interesting one for Mitchie actually, go on the mediums. Let's see how that one works out because he needs to make some moves in this stint as everyone else will therefore be on the mediums at the end of the race. So this is his fast stint, but certainly interesting things. Hoyer wanted to keep that position, sent it into turn one, but also you saw Sport brake so late. That is awesome battling between the two. In towards the pit lane though is going to be Simicic, is going to be as well as Adenhan in the background, but Jordan stays on. He continues. We saw this in Montreal and it actually worked out with the squabbling and everyone fighting for the effective race lead for the ones who already pit.
So the Ferraris continue on. In the net race lead is Jonas Braksuk, and he'll surely hold on here. I fear for Jurne that he's going to be behind Colin Spork here. I do fear for the three-time world champion that he's going to be in trouble town in a moment. He exits the pit lane now. He's actually all right. He's made a really fast in-lap here, and he could be ahead of Jonas Braksuk. This is phenomenal from Jurne Simicic. Side by side on the way towards the first chicane. There's a big stack up further behind as Jake Dennehan filters his way in as well. They're all so close. It's almost on as even for everybody. But I don't know how Jurne Simicic has done that. He stayed out 2 or 3 laps longer than some of the others, and he's still almost exactly where he was before.
He was obviously checking the gap, and that's why he stayed out, because he thought I might as well have an extra couple of laps fresher tyres for the sake of being in the exact same position. And it's worked out well because also he's back into second place in the train behind Braksuk, and he doesn't have to waste his battery. So this is potentially a very smart move. Of course, the issue for the train as it stands is Maguire is in there. He's on older tyres, so he's going to be holding up the drivers behind. We've got Hoyer, who's now on the mediums. He's going to be doing some stuff, and the Ferraris are going to have to filter in somewhere into this battle. Awesome stuff at Monza as the two Ferraris continue. No, they don't actually, as Dennis Jordan at least comes into the pit lane.
Will Alexei will continue on? Yes, he will indeed. He's not doing a one-stop, is he? That'd be outrageous.
He needs to go quite a bit further.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, we're not even halfway through this one, by the way, just yet. Dennis Jordan in then. Maybe he's realised the same thing that Jurne did, that, you know, he's not actually losing that much time at the front of the field right now. Jonas Braksuk is going to take the net race lead then here, surely, as Dennis Jordan makes his way out the pit lane now. He could be in trouble. Dennis Jordan here. Adam Maguire and Peter Birlak are side by side. He needs to stay in front of that, just Jordan. Later on the brakes on cold tyres in towards turn one. He's side by side with Birlak. Oh, contact made. Maguire and Rodger side by side, and they really were locked together there as well. Jake Dennehan looks to go around the pole as well, around the outside through the Curva Grande. It's so close between them. Banging wheels as they go through in towards the Del Rossi chicane they go. It's inside for Rodger. He tries to hold on, and he will, ahead of Dennehan and Maguire, who shuffle backwards. In all of that, Jurne Simicic overtook Jonas Braksuk, and he will now begin to stretch out this group as best he can.
Oh, it is go time for these cars. Look at all of them, nose to tail, barely half a second between each of the cars, and there's so many different little strategies and little team plays going on here as well, as everyone tries to work into their rhythm once again in this second stint. So we got Simicic leading the way, Braksuk and Birlak effectively second and third as it stands, but we go all the way down to Spork, who's still on the back of this battle after his little spin earlier. We've got Siebel, who's going to come out surely just at the end of that battle as well. So it's going to be a 10-car fight here as we get to pretty much the halfway point of the Italian Grand Prix.
Matthew Williams not too far away, but yeah, it is going to be 10 cars as long as Siebel can join in at the back, and I think it will be at the back, unfortunately, for him. Is that yellow wall tyres? No, maybe I'm seeing things from here. I can't quite see, really, from that distance. It is going to be... Oh, he's a long way back, isn't he? Siebel's left it a bit too late. We always like to notice... Sport, by the way, makes his way down the inside of Adam Maguire. That's a pass for 8th place. We always like to note that Siebel's kind on his tyres, and he can run long, and he's probably the best at tyre saving, maybe in the field, but that was when it wasn't really necessary there.
Yeah, the issue for him now is he's lost the slipstream, and that's going to be a big factor. He's 3 seconds back as well. He's going to use so much battery trying to close up to that. He just needs to hope that there's some battling ahead and that sort of stuff. That's going to be pretty difficult. Maguire has now gone to the back of this top train, so it's actually really now an 8-car train, because Maguire, as this stint goes on, is just going to be dropping back and back and back, and will be starting to... Oh, he almost loses the rear from out Les Moto, and he's going to be pitting obviously quite a bit earlier as well. So he's going to turn to an 8-car battle, but at the front, look at Simicic trying to pull away, trying to get Birlak out of that third place slipstream range.
Yeah, I think he's managing that. He's not getting rid of Braksuk, though, who's absolutely there. He is standing... Well, I've said this before, but this is a great chance for Jonas Braksuk to take his first World Championship win. He's still never done it, despite 5 pole positions, and he is right there today, right on the pace. I did fear for him when he was leading the train earlier on. that he would just get swamped later, but that's not happened so far. He's still absolutely there and just saving behind Ewan Simicic as we approach the end of the first half of the race. Dennis Jordan knows that he needs to go now. Petter Burlak is costing him time, and he needs to go down the inside to turn one, and does. That was a very nice move because he prevented it from going on too long side by side as well.
Yeah, nice break in there from Dennis Jordan. Petter also broke late, but Jordan managed to have the sort of the line and also the car position. He put himself in a very nice place to hold on to that coming into turn 2 as well. Petter is a very smart racer, and he definitely knows when to back out of that one, as the Ferrari driver put himself in the dominant position. But that does mean he joins back onto the top 3, as Simicic once again gets to the front and can't pull away. So he's going to have everyone training up behind him once again throughout this second stint. He just needs to make sure he's not using too much battery at the front there, because surely at some point someone's going to challenge him and he needs to have enough to defend.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to mind leading them around, though. He did it for quite a good portion of the first stint of this race, and he's doing it again now, and doesn't seem to mind too much. I was thinking in my own head earlier whether he might try and let someone through somewhere along the line just to get himself back into that slipstream again, but he doesn't really seem to want to do that. Dennis Jordan is now very close to Jonas Braxuk, and we're on board with him now. Let's just have a look here as to how much he's lifting off, if he is at all, on the way in towards the chicane here. How much he is going at 100%. Well, it is pretty 100%, but I can't imagine he used much energy on the way down towards the chicane that time. Further behind, Devin Rodger dives down the inside. Was it, or was it Burlak? I think it was the Alpine eSports driver, as he was under pressure from Rodger. That was a bit of a surprise. I think it caught Dennis Jordan off guard as well.
Yeah, they are all pushing at this point because probably they have pretty much full batteries they've been saving for half the race now. This is the time potentially to use it to get yourself further up the train. And Jordan there, to be honest, he actually must have been using a decent amount, because he got to 320, which is a good sort of 10 Ks above what just a normal slipstream would be. But of course, Braxuk ahead was using it, it seems. But then he obviously had Burlak in behind also using it. So they're all pushing at this part of the race. And it's slowly starting to lose car by car, as we're now down to that 8-car train. Maguire's dropped behind Williams, now outside of the top 10, and really starting to struggle as his second pit stop is looming.
So through the Ascari chicane for the 26th time of asking. Rodger under a lot of pressure here from Jake Dennehan, who is exactly where he qualified. In fact, both of them are, Rodger and Dennehan. And of course, the Netrex driver needing a little bit more now. We are getting towards the latter stages of this championship, and you do need to be up towards the front at this stage to still be in with a chance of taking the title. Dennehan needs to take points out of Simicic really today. Side by side further back for Colin Spork there on Michi Hoyer. Hoyer's not going forwards here despite being on the mediums, and the reigning champion is down the inside. This is turning into a bit of a disaster middle stint for Michi Hoyer now, who's stuck in traffic and his supposed fastest stint of the race.
Yeah, he probably should have done hards with how it's working out, but what he is going to do is he's going to get a big undercut. So he will have the gain from that. He'll get the track position like Maguire did, but now look where Maguire is. He's already 9 seconds off the lead after being effectively at the front of this train, just showing you how important new tyres are. So Hoyer will be freight trained like that in the final stint, especially as it'll be new mediums versus old hards, whereas now it was new hards versus old hards. So it'll be even more of a gain for the other drivers. So let's see how that one works out for Hoyer, but he might be destined for that P8 today.
Yep, he will be. I would imagine. Well, maybe Alex Siebel might have something to say about that. Adam Maguire as well, although he really is falling away now, isn't he, Adam Maguire?
I'm surprised because he pit lap 10, so he's only been on these for 17. And we saw everyone, Simicic, he did fast laps even on lap 22 on his hards with a full tank, whereas Maguire had 10 laps off that. Interesting.
I think Maguire maybe used a bit of his battery while he was out on his own to try and get into the lead, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. And it is Ewan Simicic, of course. I wouldn't compare him to anyone else very often, if I'm honest. But yeah, Maguire still with a chance of a top 10 maybe today, but it looks like it's going to be just outside of that, along with his teammate Martin Mergley, actually, who he's just running behind at the moment. Couple of looks in towards the first chicane that time, but no real moves. I can tell that the pace is up though here, Cam, because the field is stretched out a little bit, not quite as packed up as it was when Braxuk was leading in the opening 10 laps of this race. The opening 10 laps of this stint have been a little bit quicker, and the top 3 are showing themselves to be that little bit stronger. Petter Burlak seems to be I don't want to call him the problem, but he just seems to be slightly lacking pace compared to the others.
Yes, an FSR world champion is the problem, Ron O'Leary.
Well,
I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean. He's just starting to lose those extra couple of tenths, and that's all it is, because if you drop back by 2 tenths outside of their slipstream range, you're done. To be honest. So it's very important that he keeps there with the Ferrari, and it looks like he can do so, but just needs to make sure he's not letting these top 3 get away. And we also have to remember, for Simoncic and also Jordan, their real battle in the championship is with Spork, but they've got Brackshot, they've got Burlak in there who aren't direct opponents in the championship.
Well, Burlak will want to, of course, help Spork, but yeah, not directly involved this time for Petter Burlak, and hasn't been for a few years now, unfortunately for him. He has another look at defending there from David Rodger. It's not ideal for that group behind. The gap extends now to 8 tenths of a second. You can see the top 3 beginning to pull away, and this is desperately bad news for his teammate. Colin Spork now must be ruining that error he made on the exit of turn 1. I still don't know whether there was contact with Jordan getting into the back of him or whether Spork dropped it on his own, but he will be really having flashbacks to that moment, because it has put him further back and it has cost him a chance at winning.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was on his own, because it's easy to do, spinning up the tyres. I mean, they're so on the limit. Oh, there's a wiggle in the background there. Was that Denhan maybe? Couldn't quite see. One of the cars having a wiggle. Just showing you how on the limit these drivers are. They are braking as late as they can into every corner. They are doing the downshifts at the perfect time. They are getting that 1-2% of sliding into every corner. It's so difficult. But the thing is, they are all doing it at the exact same time, and that is why the gaps are staying very close. But unfortunately, Burlak, he's missing that last tenth or so a lap that he needs, and he's really under pressure now, as we've got 2 groups at the front.
We do. Top 3 away from the rest, and even Jonas Brackstock struggling to hang on from Jurnej Simoncic. Maybe the Slovenian is just beginning to try and put his foot down now. Jake Dennehan wants out of this group as well, and so does David Rodger. We could be 3 wide. We are either side of Petter Burlak, and through they both go. I don't think Burlak used any energy there to try and save that position. It's side by side for 4th though. Rodger and Dennehan so close they make contact again on the exit of turn 2. Dennehan will have the inside for Curva Grande and will have 4th place, but all seems to be lost. They're nearly 2 seconds away from the leaders.
As Spork, I think, is going to try and get past his teammate as well. Burlak's really struggling, whether that's tyres, whether that's battery management. We'll have to find out and speak to him after the race. But he's struggling at this point, and he's now got Michi Hoyer on the back of him as well. So that's 3 places lost in pretty much 3 corners for the 2015 world champion, and he's going to be starting to struggle. The issue for Dennehan now, he's leading that second group. Can he catch the back of Dennis Jordan? There's a pretty big gap there, 2.5 seconds.
It is possible to catch groups. I mean, Alex Siebel's nearly caught up to them again somehow at the very back, and maybe it is possible, but it's going to be so difficult for Dennehan, especially if Rodger gives him a hard time into the next few corners. And it kind of depends how much Simoncic is willing to push on the pace here at the front. He's kind of dictating this race at the moment with 23 laps to go. 30 now complete in the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, and Jurnej Simoncic is leading the way, but not by much. Jonas Brackstock is involved with Dennis Jordan as well, all fighting for the 7th round of the FSR VCO World Championship for 2023. Brackstock looks to the inside, doesn't go for it. Hoyer gets through on Burlak, who's really starting to struggle here, and I can't really figure out why. I know he came in at first, but his tyres aren't that much older than everyone else's.
I think it's just using the battery, and the issue is when you start having to regen as such, so you deploy less than you are regenning, you just go slower. That's pretty much it. The gain, so from the base horsepower, when you press the push pass, is about 160 horsepower. So that's a lot of horsepower, and if you start having to stop doing that an extra half a second a lap, it's obviously quite a lot of lap time loss, and that is my only theory, because he's not a slow driver. Got a podium last time out. He knows what he's doing, but unfortunately he's dropping to the back, and as you say, that's bringing Alex Siebel right back into this.
It has somehow. It's a very impressive drive from him. So well, pretty impressive from Jake Dennehan as well, I've got to say. He's only 7 tenths away from Jordan all of a sudden, so you can't imagine that they will have been able to save much battery while doing that, but they are at least back in the slipstream, and that's the important thing at the end of another lap. We're kind of in the window, well, I suppose we're in the window for hard tyres, but nobody's putting the hard tyres on for the end here, are they? It's still going to be another 5 laps or so until we see final pit stops for mediums, maybe even a little bit longer than that. But surely once the first driver comes in, then they'll all be eager to get into the pit lane, because the undercut will be strong once again, and track position you feel will be a little bit stronger as well. I feel like defending from the front, even at Monza, could be the way to go here, rather than at Bahrain, for example, where we saw you'd really rather be second onto the last lap, and that's exactly what Jake Dennehan did.
Adam Maguire into the pit lane for his second stop. Let's see where this one works out, because once again, he'll be undercutting his way back up, but he did drop quite a way down. And by the way, excuse me, Jake Dennehan, he's already caught up a second to Dennis Jordan. Maybe you can bridge gaps in the FSR VCO World Championship as Maguire comes out. He's got Vagapov just behind him. Of course, Maguire needs to stay inside that white line. Can't get across to defend. They should just about be able to hold on to what is 17th place, but of course will jump up when everyone else ahead pits.
Maybe these guys can cross gaps, Cam, and you can't. That might be the reason.
Maybe I'm just bad. Yes, thank you.
We remind you enough. We should probably relax. But anyway, we're hoping for a traditional final day Cam Rodger appearance in the World Championship. By the way, this season, it always seems to happen, and
it might be cooking. It might be cooking.
He's purposely not booked onto commentary. It'll be me and Zach for the finale, as a result. So we're looking forward to that if it does transpire. But we'll see when we get there. Dennis Jordan gets close to Jonas Braksuk again and towards the first chicane. By the way, 21 laps to go, but it's going to be side by side. The Hungarian's going to fight this, and Simitic has a golden opportunity. He is in the lead now by about a second. There's a big danger for Jordan and Braksuk, and they both know it. Braksuk wants to hold on to second as well. He's using battery here because he's holding on round the outside, the long way round into the second chicane. Jordan will get through though, and they have to be very careful now. Jordan needs a good lap to catch the leader.
Yeah, he needed to get past quickly to also avoid Dennehan catching, and unfortunately he didn't, and it was very messy. They lost a lot of time there in turns 2 and 3, and as you say, this is perfect for Simitic. He's got no one behind him, a second gap for Jordan, so he's barely going to be in that slipstream, if at all. This is the time, if Simitic has some battery, use it, try and get 1.5, 2 seconds lead. But of course, Dennis Jordan, wily old fox, isn't an FSR World Champion, but he's finished up towards the front. He's won the Constructors' Championship as well, so he knows what he's doing in this series, and now he needs to try and chase down the 3-time champion.
1 second the gap. Braksuk struggling to hang on as well. Is it boiling down to a battle between the front two? How much battery has Simitic wasted trying to open gaps in the past? How much has he got left? Jordan, I think, has got enough left, or at least something left, to try and just stem the tide. I think Braksuk may well be running out as Jake Dennehan makes his way down the inside now in towards turn 1 and is through into the podium places. He really needs to beat Jordan and Simitic today to improve his title chances. He's already 21 points behind, can't really afford to slip to 30 points back from Simitic, which is what he would be right now if the race were to end on lap 34.
Oh, things are going to change very quickly around here. Michi Hoyer comes into the pit lane, and where is Adam Maguire going to be? Oh, he's Mars back. Mars back. So yeah, Maguire's race is done from that point of view. Unfortunately, taking the softs at the beginning there. He's not going to be inside that fight that we were potentially expecting. Hoyer, is he on the mediums again? Surely not. I wonder if that is a bit of a mistake, because that's it's possible, but maybe not the fastest way to get to the end. So definitely Hoyer trying something today to counteract that strategy that hasn't worked. But at the front, it is going to be a big gap between Jordan and Dennehan, as Braksuk, of course, has dropped down to that 4th place. He's now going to have Mocek in behind, Spork there as well. Burlak has dropped off. Siebels is now there as well. Matt Williams is not too far behind, so still loads of things to play for up the front.
Yeah, by the way, it's not a graphical problem. It is mediums for Michi Hoyer, by the way. 9/10 of a second between 1 and 2. Dennis Jordan has not been able to close this gap. And, well, that could be a problem for the Ferrari eSports driver. I do fear for him slightly as well that he's tried and used quite a lot of battery to try and get within that slipstream again. It's not worked, and maybe now that gap's going to begin to balloon. Jake Dennehan's still 3rd as well and can't really reconnect with the top 2 either. This race is beginning to spread apart on that 35 as the pace is beginning to tell. Jone Simitic showing himself to be strong once again, pacey as he always is, and leading this race at this stage. Tavros Mercedes has just been overtaken by Adam Maguire there, but unfortunately Maguire is a long way back from being in contention for this race now. Ewan Simicic has 1.2, 1.3 seconds. This gap is opening. Has Simicic broken the rest of the field?
Oh, he's right on that limit of the slipstream as well. That's why Dennis is trying so hard. Of course, they want to try and build a gap to avoid any sort of undercut from the drivers behind as well. Because, well, in a situation, if you're sort of Dennehan, Bradshaw, Motrek, etc., the only way you're going to win this race now is by trying to get a big undercut. So if they push now, they avoid the undercut potential from behind, and this is looking pretty nice for them. And it's really worked out, actually. I thought Simicic was going to be burning too much battery at the front there, with Bradshaw pushing him all the way in the first half of this middle stint. But when is the final pit stop going to happen now? How long are they going to wait? Or is people going to start diving in early, trying to get that track position?
Just seeing that the front two comfortably ahead of the rest now. 0.8 of a second. Jordan's really draining the battery now on this lap. Has he managed to get back into the slipstream though? Breaks late into turn one. Closes in again. Well, there were times there where I thought Simicic was away, home and hosed almost. It's a bit early for that, but 0.75 of a second the gap. It extends again around the Curva Grande. Jordan may be suffering with a lack of energy on this next straight. Can he close in through the next section of corners? This is the most technical section on the circuit, arguably. Dipped as low as 0.6 of a second there. What is becoming clear, though, is that these two are stronger than the rest. The gap for Jake Dennehan to the lead is already 4 seconds, which has absolutely ballooned in the last 6 laps or so.
Yeah, these guys were holding on to some pace, weren't they? With Jordan and Simicic, they couldn't get away. But now when they finally got the opportunity, they can push. And of course, they pit, was it lap 22? Something like that. They were the later ones to pit, so they got the fresher tyres as well. So they should have a couple of tenths here and there compared to the other people. As Dennehan, a bit of a mistake there through Ascari as Bradshaw is keeping up to him. So certainly a important point of the race, I think this is going to be.
Very important. In the final 17 laps, we're almost at the end of the Italian Grand Prix here at Monza. What a race it's been so far, and it's far from over. Dennis Jordan was very strong on the home straight last time round, closed in. Simicic just keeping him at arm's length once again. He'll be picking up the faintest bit of slipstream at the moment, Jordan, but he's not quite there. And Jonas Braksok certainly is for Jake Dennehan. This is turning into a fight for the final podium place, and nothing more, really. Braksok's now into third, and that's what they're going to have to fight for. It'll be podium places for these guys. That's all the likes of Dennehan and Sport can hope for from this race. They will lose points today to their main rivals.
Oh, they certainly will. This 5-second gap is going to be unassailable, assuming that it is a standard race from here to the end. Of course, we do have a final pit stop. Remember, medium tyres coming the way of all of these drivers, as they haven't complied with the 2 compound rules so far. So it just depends. When do you want to pit? When do you want to go on to that? As it's quite a big train. Once again, Bradshaw, we'll include Brerlach. He's just on the back of it as well. All of these drivers could be finishing in that third place if they do this correctly.
Well, Dennis Jordan is back. The top 2 are together again. Now, how do they play the pit stops over the course of the remainder of this race? We'll wait and find out, of course, but what a race we're seeing so far. There it is. Less than half a second between the front two. There was moments there where I really thought the race was over pretty much, and Ewan Simicic was through. Although I say that, what an exit he's got from Parabolica there. This gap is fluctuating very weirdly, but I guess this is what happens when you have the electrical energy to deploy. Simicic used a lot of it seemingly off the exit of Parabolica, and Dennis Jordan across the course of the straight. They're going back and forth, ebbing and flowing, and it's somewhat bizarre to watch, but when they exit the pit lane for the final time, they're absolutely together, maybe. Then we'll know the score. It'll be a straight fight to the flag for the 2 of them. Nobody else involved. I guess that makes it a bit simpler for them, really. The fact that the train has already disintegrated and will certainly remain so before the end of this race.
Oh, Jordan's all over the back of him. This is so interesting. I would love to see their battery numbers at this time, because they've been pushing for the last 5 laps now. Surely they've got quite depleted batteries as such. They won't be able to push full to the end of the race doing that, of course. 15 laps to go, So we are in pit stop territory, but who wants to go first? Who wants to get the undercut? Or do you want the fresher tyres at the end? That is the bit that they're working out. And what Jordan is doing is he's not letting Simicic have any gap, any room to play with. It's definitely the cat and mouse act. And of course, pushing him to try and waste a bit more battery.
Well, if they've both got no battery, then surely that plays into the hands of Simicic, because Jordan can't use that little bit to get through either. But let's wait and see how it pans out. 15 laps to go in the Italian Grand Prix. And by the way, they've got Vajapov right behind them. I'm not sure whether that's factoring into Jordan's faults at the moment, because that will distract me. But anyway, the second group have now pitted, or at least some of them. Jake Tenahan, Colin Spork and Peter Burlak all into the pit lane.
Spork and Burlak pitting at the same time. I believe we share pit boxes, so Burlak might lose a little bit of time from that one. Hopefully that works out okay for him. I don't know what the gap was exactly, but the pit stop is 3.3 seconds. And yeah, I think Burlak's lost a little bit more time from that. He's only coming out the pit stop now. A bit of a mistake there potentially, or he just wanted to pit at that time. But either way, he's lost time.
Mitchy Hoyer's ahead of them, by the way, and seemingly on hard tyres. So maybe maybe our eyes were lying to us earlier on. Don't know what that's all about, but does he look like he's on white striped tyres to you here? Yes, he does. He certainly didn't look like it earlier.
Sometimes we do see this, especially like on the formation lap. You know how it takes a few seconds for it to update. Every now and again it can happen at a pit stop, although pit stops are normally instantaneous, but that does make a lot more sense for Hoyer to go on the hard tyres. So he's going to have the gap to Denahan. He now needs to hold on to it. The issue is the 3 cars behind, they're all on the mediums, and he's got some traffic ahead too.
I think he's going to be third, Hoyer, at the end of the stops here. I don't think he's quite got enough to catch the leaders or be with the leaders, but he might do. And probably won't stay with them for very long once they come out the pit lane. That will be the problem for him. Colin Spork was initially showing on hards. That's not the case. He is on mediums and will be looking for a podium from this race as Jens Braxop makes his way into the pit lane, as well as Matthew Williams, who pulls in. Slides in the Royal Blue Racing car. There goes Mitchy Hoyer down the inside of Loic Mounier. Thankfully for him, the Visceral driver is not going into the pit lane, because that would have been a plane crash. But thankfully, Hoyer makes his way through, and he's miles in front of Braxop, who's behind Spork and Denahan. By the looks of it, yes, he is. So, unfortunately, the pole sitter may well struggle to finish on the podium here, which is just another shame for Jonas Braxop. Another great chance to take his first win, and it doesn't look like it's going to be today.
I tell you what, Hoyer might actually have the gap to Simicic and Jordan. We will see, and maybe that's why they haven't pit. Maybe Simicic and Jordan have seen that group of Hoyer, Callas, Mounier. Maybe they are in that pit window of about the 24 seconds, and that would obviously hinder their race massively if they came out in that traffic. They've still got the 5-second gap to Rodger. They just need to make sure they don't get undercut massively and let Denahan, Spork and Braxop back into the slipstream. Lap 40 now, 13 laps to go. Easy to the end, but who wants to pit first? Let's see who wants to have the fresher tyres towards the end of the race. Coming out of the final corner. No, he doesn't go into the pit lane.
Simicic, I really thought he was in there, and that would have got the heart racing, but Jordan has to stay behind. Will he go for it before the pit stops? No, he decides to stay behind. There's Hoyer. He will, will he be in the lead? Maybe Jordan's got enough, Hoyer's got enough for the lead here. He is still catching Simicic, and you've got to say that that's a problem for Jordan more than anything, because I know they're not scoring points for the same team, but Simicic and Hoyer are on the same team, of course, and they know each other very well, and that can only be a bad thing for Dennis Jordan, really.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one for Jordan. Unfortunately, his teammate Siebel was about 6 seconds off as it stands. And the gap that we really need to look out for as well is the gap between Hoyer and Denahan, because that effectively is the gap between Simicic and Denahan after the pit stop sequence. And the Burst and the Ferrari driver, P1 and 2 at the moment, they need to be looking out for that and make sure that Denahan doesn't get anywhere near that slipstream, because if he does, it's going to be very difficult for them to have a sort of just a one-on-one battle at the end. Simicic, though, he's pulled away on this lap. Does that mean this is his boxing lap? We'll have to find out.
Or is it Dennis Jordan's boxing lap here as a result of the gap? Only 12 laps to go. There's not long left for these mediums at all. Don't wonder if anyone's tempted by the softs. You wouldn't imagine so. But let's see. Simicic pulls wide there, and no, he's not in, but Jordan is. Jordan into the pit lane? Yes, he was. So Dennis Jordan goes for the undercut. Now Simicic really is unleashing everything, not only on the penultimate lap, but at the last lap as well. He's giving absolutely everything. David Mocek's into the pit lane as well to possibly act as a hindrance as much as he can in the pit lane for what he can do there, which is almost nothing. But Jordan will make his way out. Will he be ahead of Mitchy Hoyer or not? Will he be anywhere near him? It could be a problem for him if he is. Jordan's going to be behind Mitchy Hoyer, who's going to lead the Italian Grand Prix, I think. Mitchy Hoyer might well lead this race. Well, this is the turn up for the Bucks. Jordan only just in front of Dennehan. The undercut from the others has brought them right into it. We could have 7 or 8 cars for the lead again now in the Italian Grand Prix. What a race we're seeing. More likely to be around 6 cars, by the way, maybe not 7 or 8. That's an exaggeration, but Dennis Jordan now has to think about that. Looking in his mirrors, looking ahead. Jurnej Simicic still unleashing the pace out front.
They let their battle between themselves potentially open up the door for the others to get involved. They should have hit a couple of laps ago, and this is big, big news. Last lap, Dennehan was 1.5 seconds quicker than Jurnej Simicic, and yeah, this is going to be a big one. Simicic is going to come out around Dennehan and, of course, Jordan as well, right on pit exit, and he needs to try something. Is he going to continue? No. He's going to obviously come in this time around. Is he going to be tempted by the soft? I don't know. I think it's going to be too much. We saw them drop off quite a lot. I think it's going to be mediums and full push, but now this is going to be a very tricky situation. Mitchy Hoyer is effectively going to lead the race.
He is, and he's slowing Dennis Jordan down as much as he can, I think, as well, on this lap. Dennis Jordan is going to overtake him here. Will he be ahead of Simicic, though? Alex Siebel's into the pit lane as well, by the way, so this is now the race. 11 laps to go at Monza, and is Jurnej Simicic going to be in the lead here? He's on his way out right now. Jordan makes his way through the middle of the first cars, and he's through. Dennis Jordan's in the lead of the Italian Grand Prix on lap 43, and Mitchy Hoyer is into second place. Jurnej Simicic down to third. Dennis Jordan all of a sudden could have played a masterclass here at the Italian Grand Prix. Now Simicic will go through. That's expected, of course. Mitchy Hoyer lets that one go immediately. Now the battle is on. The top 6 are together, and the final laps of this race are going to be enthralling.
Mitchy Hoyer put himself in the perfect opportunity as well to help Simicic there, because if it was Dennehan on the back of Simicic right now, that would be difficult. But it is, once again, the Ferrari and the burst driver in P1 and P2. They got a slower driver behind, just like we saw a bit earlier. And now they need to try and pull away. They need to make sure that that battle for P3 is not in their slipstream range. Then they can focus on themselves to the end of the race. What they do have is fresher tyres. So they're going to have a lot of pace for these first few laps. And hopefully, for them, they'll be able to get out of that slipstream range.
So it'll be 10 laps to go at the line. I don't know if Dennehan's close enough to the lead. I think the leading 2 are just going to get away again, aren't they, here, really? Dennehan's not close enough to Hoyer to get through into Parabolica, and I think by the time he does get through, the front 2 are going to be too far away. Now, how does Jurnej Simicic play this? When he was in a similar situation in Bahrain with Jake Dennehan, he played it wrong. He got the strategy wrong and ended up losing the race. Is that going to happen again? Jake Dennehan could be a problem for him in this race as well, to be fair. Mitchy Hoyer is going to be muscled out of the way. Oh, there's contact, there's sliding, there's more contact on the exit of turn 2. Jake Dennehan's through, and now Colin Sponk's going to try and follow through as well. Mitchy Hoyer crowds him to the middle of the road, tries to take him away there and defend that 4th position in towards the Della Roggia for the 44th time of asking. There's contact. Hoyer makes contact and he's on the inside. Oh no! Jonas Braxock makes contact with Mitchy Hoyer as well and loses his front wing. There's contact at the second chicane, and it's all come unstuck for Colin Spork and Mitchy Hoyer.
But fortunately for Spork, he's still going. I think he should be okay from this. Of course, he's lost a bit of time to Dennehan now, but to be honest for Spork, this race might still work out in a podium after being down in 8th place at one point. Would love to, of course, see that one again to see, because it just slightly went off camera to see exactly how the cars are positioned into that chicane, but they're fighting hard for a podium in a race. And Spork, of course, is going for the championship. He's going to be going for every millimetre as well. Very tricky situation for the pair of them.
Oh, Jonas Braxock, what a disappointment once again for him. 5th pole position of his career here today. No race win, no top 10 either now. There will be no front wing, and he'll have to make his way in. He'll put the softs on for the end, I suppose, maybe get fastest lap. But what a disappointment it is for the Hungarian, who makes contact with a spinning Mitchy Hoyer, and in the end has fallen outside of the top 10. That will put one of the RHG eSports drivers into the top 10, by the way. Adam Maguire and Martin Mergley are probably going to fight over that, but I'd imagine it will go the way of Martin Mergley on his return to the FSR VCO World Championship. Leading two are the ones contesting this race then. Still 9 laps to go, including the one that we're on at the moment, and I don't think Jake Dennehan's quite got through quickly enough. I don't think it's quite close enough to fight with these two for the win.
Oh, let's see how this one is going to work out. The top two have been pushing hard. Do they have enough battery to still push for the final 8 laps of this race? They have got that 2-second gap to Dennehan though, so it's worked out to be 2 little pairs. And David Rodger, who has had a pretty quiet race, to be honest, just sitting there in 5th place, and somehow Siebel as well has got himself up to 6th after all of that shenanigans. It's certainly been a chaotic Italian Grand Prix. Peter Burlak's also dropped down to 9th place behind Matt Williams after all of that pit stop sequence. It's certainly been an interesting 10 laps here, and the top two, they go at it once again.
Yeah, Matt Williams, by the way, is turning into a fantastic World Championship driver, isn't he? Top 10 again for him this evening. They come down towards turn 1, the 2 leaders, and there will be no change on lap 46. But yeah, Matthew Williams is on course for his second top 10 in 2 rounds. He's been knocking on the door of this for a little while, and this is his best performance in the World Championship to date, I would argue. Certainly in 2023. Anyway, there is the Royal Blue driver, ahead of one of FSR's world champions. You've got to take your hat off to him. He was impressive in the rounds of the Pro Championship he did last season. In the end, didn't do them all, and so didn't take the title off his teammate in the end. But he had a few appearances in the World Championship. Now he's in for his debut full season, and he's only been getting better. I think it's only a matter of time before he's fighting for top 5s and maybe race wins.
I agree, and Royal Blue have been making big progress in the last couple of years. And yeah, you're right. I think it was the final 2 races of the season at Indianapolis and Brazil last year. And I think got podiums both times as well on track. So, and in fact, he was fighting for the lead. And if he had won the race in Interlagos, the championship would have gone the way of Siebel. But Sport got past him effectively to win the championship. So it worked out pretty well for Colin that time round. So Williams knows what he's doing, but he's just taken a few rounds to get up to speed in this car, as you say. 8th place as it stands. Some other drivers who potentially would be a little bit higher up you would expect is 2 R8G cars. They've been fighting for wins so far this season, but down in 10th and 11th. Still solid result, but not at the heights that they would have wanted. 23 seconds off the lead as well.
What a fantastic race this has been, by the way. R8G Sports 10th and 11th, so decent run for them, I suppose. In terms of the championship, if things were to end right now, Dennis Jordan would move to within just 8 points of Jurek Simicic, and that would set up a classic finale in the final 2 rounds. Jake Dennehan is under a lot of pressure from David Rodger here, who's really on a charge, isn't he? He's ahead of Colin Spork all of a sudden, and he's looking for a podium. David Rodger is having a fantastic season, by the way. He's 5th in the current driver's standings, and does have the possibility of catching Dennehan and Spork in the standings. The top 5, by the way, are all the top 5 in this race. So this race has kind of been a distillation of the season, if you like, in this particular round. But David Rodger's having a fantastic time, a quiet time, but a really good race, and 4th for now, threatening for a podium.
Yeah, this would be great. He hasn't been on the podium for quite a while. Potentially, was it the first round? Yeah, the first round of the season as well. So definitely some big moves as Williams has got inside the top 7 now. He's got past Hoyer, who of course is struggling just a little bit, and he's got another car, Peter Burlak, just in behind. The car behind that is Skovron, who's a lap down, so don't worry about the 4th car in that train. But certainly Hoyer might have another place to be lost by the end of this race.
Yeah, unfortunately so. He will hang on to the top 10 there, you would imagine. Now, 6 laps to go, and Jurek Simicic is still waiting. At what point do you start getting concerned for Dennis Jordan here? How much is he using in terms of battery? How much is Simicic using? Are they both regenerating at this stage, or are they both using some of that charge? Not entirely sure, of course. We don't know. We don't have any idea. But how is Simicic playing this one differently to the battle that he lost out on in Bahrain, of course, where he tried to go through a couple of laps from the end, smash everyone else out of the water and get away. That didn't work, and he was forced with no battery to defend with on the final lap of the race, where Dennehan was able to take his first World Championship win in his career. How is he going to play it differently here with Dennis Jordan, who he's had so many fights with and knows so well, of course, from down the years, not only in FSR, but they've even driven together in championships on rFactor 2 in the past as well. This is a very different prospect, these two fighting with one another, and what a prospect it is for us. 5 laps to go at the line.
So they'll be 1 and 2 in the championship by 13 points. If Jordan can finish ahead of Simicic, that'll bring it down to 8 points between them with 2 rounds remaining. They'll be gaining points on Spork. So this is working out really, really well for them as it stands. Up towards turn 1 once again, though. Is Simicic going to be going for it? I think he is. To the inside, he's going to go. Jordan, though, he might try and defend this one, or maybe not. He's actually going to be letting Simicic have that one in towards turn 1. Interesting things. Simicic goes to the front.
Now, is he going to do what he did at Bahrain and try and blow Jordan out the water here? Or is he just going to conserve charge for a defence in the last laps? That's the question. The gap doesn't extend immediately there and suggests that maybe he's not going to try and gap Jordan. Here comes, David Rodger. That's a bit of a surprise, and maybe he's caught Jake Dennehan off guard. Round the curve of Grande, he's onto the podium. David Rodger through into the second chicane. These guys are starting to materialise into a fight for third in the drivers' standings, and it's the fight for third in the race right now as well. David Rodger's on the podium for the first time since Bahrain.
And for what it's worth, the Constructors' Championship as well. Burst Esports next to you, they're already looking pretty good there with the gap to Scuderia Ferrari Esports and Alpine as well. But 2 drivers on the podium looking good for Burst as it stands. Marocek, as we were just mentioning, quiet race, but he's obviously saved a lot of battery, saved his tyres at the back of the train. And now in these final 10 laps, he's really motoring forward. And talking about motoring forward is Yerne. He's trying to pull away from Jordan once more.
Can he do it though? Still in the slipstream is the German right now, but needs to be careful of that gap growing too much. Has he used too much battery early on in this race with not enough left right now? Cosmo Pizzuto's not far in front of these guys, by the way, and he could play a role in this one as Jordan closes in. He's certainly not as close as Yerne was when the roles were reversed here. He's not quite as close, but then again, we don't know how much battery Simicic is using at this stage. It's so hard to tell at this stage, and it's somewhat difficult to tell for the drivers themselves as well.
And low key as well, they've pulled out over 5 seconds to drivers like Dennehan and Spork. Amazing stuff and amazing pace at the front. Callas there gets himself up into P12 ahead of Lurg Munier. That's a little bit more like it. Callas' best finish so far this season is P14. Of course, he's a pole position and general podium winner in the World Championship, but has struggled this season. That'll be a nice result for him. He's also got Maguire not too far up the road if he can make that move.
Yeah, Callas has finished on the podium 4 times in the FSR World Championship. By the way, he's been on the podium, he's been on pole position twice, is what I was trying to say there. But you're right, not finished inside the top 10 this season. I don't think that's going to change here, although he might make a late charge for it on the 2 REG Esports drivers. Martin Mergley just in front of Adam Maguire. Now it's close. 3 laps to go at the line, and Dennis Jordan is as close as he's ever been to Yerne Simicic, who once again is quick out of the parabolica for seemingly no apparent reason. I don't know how he's so quick off the corner, but he seems to do it every time. And Jordan just left with no chance in towards turn 1. There could be still a biding of time though from Jordan. I think he's going to wait now for the penultimate lap or last lap really. No point in going through here on lap 51, and even Spork is waiting to a degree here. David Rodger has gotten away from Dennehan and Spork as well. What a drive it's been from the pole today.
Yeah, I think Dennehan's struggling here. Spork is probably going to get him towards the end of the race. We saw Spork just lifting off before the braking zone, probably just saving up a little bit of battery to form a charge. But what that has meant is that Marocek, as you say, has got away for that 3rd place. And to be honest, if we had another 5 laps of this race, he would be sort of, actually maybe not catching, but he would be really having at least a think about the top 2 as well. So certainly a good performance from the Polish Burst driver as it stands. Just needs to bring it home for the final 2.5 laps. But yeah, I think for in behind Spork should have Dennehan by the end of the race, but we will see, because Siebel actually is getting involved.
He just comes out of nowhere towards the end of stints sometimes, does Alex Siebel, and he's here again. Like a stalker in your back garden, he just won't go away. He's back inside the top 5 now, or trying to anyway, is Alex Siebel. Colin Spork and Jake Dennehan are going to have a problem with him, I think, here in a couple of moments' time. But Dennehan certainly seems to be the one, as you said, that is struggling out of the 3 of them. Into the parabolica they go as they start the penultimate lap. Yerne Simicic has pulled out 0.8 of a second out. Does Jordan have the battery to close back in again? Does Siebel have the battery to go through on Spork here? He might well do. He's in the slipstream. Spork thinking about defending, thinking about attacking. No change here in the fight for 4th place. But Simicic had that gap as large as 0.8 there over the line. Is Jordan close enough for an assault on the last lap? Has Simicic done it again in terms of trying to bridge a gap that He wasn't able to brake in the end, and has he used up too much battery doing it?
They've really been ebbing and flowing. One tries to pull away, one brings it back in. They've been just managing their battery the best they can because they want to have as much as possible to deploy for pretty much all of the straights on that final lap. In order to defend. Of course, they won't be able to because you pretty much need a full battery to do it for every single straight, but certainly you want to defend, especially in towards turn number one. That, as ever, is one of the best overtaking opportunities, and it's going to be 1 lap to go at the line. The two championship rivals, P1 and 2 in the championship, P1 and 2 on the track. They've dominated this race so far, and who is going to come out on top? 1 more lap to go.
0.6 of a second here at the Italian Grand Prix, but Jurnej Simicic is just so strong through the parabolica. It's not going to be in towards turn 1 for Dennis Jordan as we begin the final lap. Jurnej Simicic, 3-time world champion of this series, of course. Dennis Jordan has never finished higher than 3rd in this championship. It's not going to be in towards turn 1. It may be into the second chicane. His teammate is trying to give him some inspiration from further back, but Colin Spork is holding on to 5th place at the moment. Seymour just back to the inside. He can't quite do it for the moment. Simicic and Jordan make their way around the Curva Grande. Is he close enough here, Jordan? Not really. Simicic has got just enough charge of the way into here as well. There are little opportunities now.
And to be honest, Jordan, I think, was saving in the first straight. For that second one, he's got close up. Is he too close? They got a back marker up ahead of them as well. That's actually going to give some slipstream to Jurnej Simicic. Don't lose out with the dirty air as well. Through these corners is going to have to be a send, potentially into the parabolica. That's a bit of a Hail Mary with a very short braking zone.
Oh, Vaporov could, well, get in the way, and he does give a bit of slipstream to Simicic now. 0.4 of a second into the Ascari chicane for the final time. Jordan there, I don't think it's got a very good run at all, and Jurnej Simicic may well have this one. I think it was just a slight mistake into the Ascari chicane, and Jurnej Simicic looks like he's going to weather the storm and hold on at the Italian Grand Prix. Into the final corner he goes right now, and without catastrophe, he is going to win here. The Italian Grand Prix goes to Jurnej Simicic. He weaves across the line. He knows what that means in his quest for a 4th world title. He now leads the World Championship by 18 points over Dennis Jordan, who finishes 2nd. And it's a dream day for Burst Esports as David Rodger completes the podium.
And Spork losing out to Siebel, that is big points in the championship. 6th place, that's 15 points. So he's lost another 15 points to Simicic, and that pretty much undoes what he gained in the previous 2 races. So Spork now is going to be struggling to come and battle for that championship with just 2 races to go. But what a battle that was between the pair of Simicic and Jordan, going for the championship and going for the race win. What a race. Absolutely enjoyed that one. Very entertaining.
The very last lap for both of those two was the fastest one. You won't be surprised to learn. Dennis Jordan ending up with it, a 123.2, excuse me, was a 10th quicker than Simicic could manage, but it wasn't quick enough, and he will remain 2nd in the World Drivers' Championship. Just 18 points behind Jurnej Simicic with 2 rounds to go. We'll calculate what that means for the remainder of the season, of course, but things and fate is very much in the hands of Jurnej Simicic at the moment. Let's take a look at the results after 53 laps of racing at Monza here tonight. Jurnej Simicic takes the win ahead of Dennis Jordan with a double burst podium. David Rodger in 3rd. Jake Dennehan held on to 4th in the end, with Alex Siebel jumping up to 5th on the last lap ahead of reigning world champion Colin Spork. His teammate Petra Burlak finishing down in 7th. Matthew Williams in 8th. It's his best result of the season so far. Mitchy Hoyer was inside the top 10 as well, despite a bizarre strategy. Adam Maguire's strategy was bizarrer than them all. He finished 10th in the end for REG. He was just ahead of Martin Mergeli. Teammate Sander Callis' best race of the season, arguably so far. He finishes 12th. Visceral Esports' Luc Meunier impressed in 13th as well. And Jonas Braxar will be disappointed again in 14th. Darius Andre 15th, ahead of Stavros Mercedes. Then the 2 race clutch cars of Pausas Remenik and Robin Panzer. Peter Vagparov and Cosmo Pasuto round out the top 20. From here on in, it's a tale of woe, really. Giannis Leonis and Demian Skrovron both had early stops to make, and they did get to the end. Unlike Cosmas Van Bukas, Adam Princess, Mark Suter, Jukka-Pekka Lalu, Danny Van Der Neet, Zoltzuks, Giordano Valeriano, and Jan Gregvist, all of whom DNF'd, most of them at the end of the opening lap. Well, there it is. 53 laps of the Italian Grand Prix certainly did not disappoint. Still 2 rounds to go at the Japanese Grand Prix and the Brazilian Grand Prix as well. Still 60 points on the table, but it's coming down to the front 2. Next up will be Suzuka, of course, in 3 weeks' time on the 1st of October. So I hope you'll join us for that, but I hope you'll stick around for just a few more moments because we will be chatting to the podium drivers. The first of whom is joining us right now. Jurni Simicic joins us in the commentary room. Welcome in, Jurni. Good to have you with us. Win at the end, a victory at the end, and it was a tense battle with yourself and Dennis Jordan, but I felt that this battle between yourself and Jordan was somewhat similar to the one you had earlier in the season at Bahrain with Jake Danahan. You came out second best on that occasion. How did you want to approach the last laps of this race compared to that one? With, of course, your rival Dennis Jordan so close to you in those final 10 laps?
I think neither of us, neither myself nor Dennis, really thought of this battle for P1 or P2 as of like biggest thing in the race, because the biggest thing was that somehow we both managed to massively leapfrog in the pace. Like setup development and so on, because Alpine had us completely covered. Like in the previous races, it was terrible. But yeah, that was the most important thing, that we were actually able to pull away. So I was super surprised that we are the only 2 in the lead battling for the victory. So my idea was just never to let the battery drop too low. So I had always almost full battery until the end. And I knew from the practice that it's somehow more difficult to overtake here compared to Bahrain, and I decided it's better to be ahead with 5 laps to go or with 6 laps to go, and it was easier to make overtake then and defend later than just burn everything with like 2 or 3 laps to go, or how it was in Bahrain.
You mentioned the battery there. It's a big talking point for us, of course, because you can get rid of all of your charge very quickly around a circuit like this. Just how difficult was it to keep that battery sort of, filled up and make sure that you weren't using too much throughout the race?
It was super complicated because the strategy was really limited to just like a couple of laps for the pit stop window, like plus minus 1 or 2 laps. And I needed to do everything to come out of the pits exactly in the correct spot, never to pit so early that then I have massive undercut and burn battery, but then end up ahead of the train and then lose the positions again, but also never to box too late or to use too little battery to then be P5 in a train. So it was super difficult to manage it. I think I also had some luck with that, with how everything panned out in the end when Dennis overtook Michi, and I was able to instantly boost past Michi as well to stick with Dennis. So it was good to have some hard work behind, so that I knew how everything will behave battery-wise, so I could make solid decisions.
Well, it certainly worked out well for you. Congratulations, Jurni, on victory here tonight at the Italian Grand Prix, and thanks very much for coming to chat to us as well.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much. Jurni Simicic, winner of the Italian Grand Prix, talking to us there. And we're also now joined by Dennis Jordan, who he beat by just less than a second at the end of 53 laps. Welcome in, Dennis. Good to have you with us as well. Second place for you today. And I guess overall in isolation, it's a good result. I guess the only problem is the only driver who's ahead of you in the championship has also finished ahead of you here. But tell us about those last few laps and how your thoughts were in those, because it was close. How much did you believe that you could still win that race with just a few laps to go and Jurni still in front of you?
Yeah, I mean, you never know how the battery exactly looks like, but obviously for me the issue is around second stop, that because Michi is also in there by going off strategy. Obviously he is a burst car, so I need to watch out for him a bit more, pit early and all of that stuff. That obviously offset me a little bit there, which not great, but yeah, I think no matter what I do then in the end, kind of, I'm doomed if I do this, doomed if I do that. It's tough to do, so I think P2 was the best given the situation.
Unfortunately, it does mean you slipped to now 18 points behind Jurni in the championship, but you're in contention for this world title certainly, and possibly more in contention than you've ever been in years gone past. How are you feeling about the last 2 rounds, about Suzuka and Interlagos, and possibly cutting down that 18-point margin?
I don't know what Suzuka is, but we are on to Matsuzaka.
You know what I mean? To be fair, I don't actually know whether we're allowed to say Suzuka or not. Cam's probably more knowledgeable than me on that. But anyway, wherever that Japanese twisty circuit that we all know, how are you feeling about that circuit at Interlagos as well, the final 2 rounds?
Yeah, obviously completely different here to Monza. So yeah, will be fun to see how we are gonna adapt, right? I mean, I think historically this type of track here, as I already said in Montreal, kind of like favors us a little bit, right? Traction zones, lots of long straights. Historically where we do really well at. Sometimes that does look different on the higher aero downforce tracks. So yeah, we're gonna get to work and see what we can do for Matsuzaka.
Absolutely, we look forward to it. Dennis, congratulations on 2nd place, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Dennis Jordan, 2nd place in the Italian Grand Prix, chatting to us there, just ahead of David Mrozek as well, who also joins us. 3rd place for you today, David. 1st podium since Bahrain as well, but closing the gap to Denahan and Spork in the championship as well, for what it's worth, in your quest for 3rd place, I guess, and maybe a little bit more as well. Tell us a little bit about the first part of your race, though, because we noted that you were in the front group, that also you were very quiet in the front group. We barely saw you getting involved with anyone, barely saw you side by side at any point, getting involved in any incidents. You were just very quiet in the opening portion of that one. Was that always the plan from the start?
Hi, guys. No, actually, I have to admit that during first stint, I think I was behind Jake Denahan. And it seemed to me like he was using his battery in different places on track than me, and it was like incredibly hard for me to like follow him. I think like the slipstream really starts pulling you like with like 7/10 to the car ahead, and I was always like kind of on like 8 to 9/10, so it was never enough to like be comfortable in the slipstream. So like in terms of pure pace, I was not losing any time to him, but I was just gaining to him in all like bad places, so like chicanes, corners, but like on the straights he was, most of the time he was just driving away, so I couldn't really stay in his slipstream, so it kind of forced that quiet beginning of the race for me, because I couldn't really do much. I just had to follow him. It was always like a bit too far away to try to make a move and stuff like that.
In terms of the results of this one, obviously it's a double podium for Burst, which must be very pleasing, but you've extended the advantage in that team's championship now to Alpine eSports and Ferrari as well in the standings there. Just how much of a target is the teams in the teams championships for you and Yoni, and how much are you focused on your individual results over the course of the final 2 rounds now of this championship?
Well, like I don't really fight for the championship. For me, like my main goal is to obviously score as many points as possible, so that would help us with just getting that championship. And well, I don't necessarily have to like finish on the podium in the individual championship, because it's not that important. I guess our target is to just win both championships, and we will focus on that. If that means that I have to like do some alternative strategy in the last round and stuff, that like I'm okay with that, because I'm not fighting for P1 anymore, and Yerne is. So as long as he wins, and as long as we are able to get that team championship, it's all good for me.
All right, well, we wish you luck with that over the final 2 rounds. Congratulations, David, on 3rd place here tonight, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, David Mrozek there, chatting to us after 3rd place here at the Italian Grand Prix. Well, that will just about do it for us here this evening, Cam. What a race we've seen. Another FSR VCO World Championship race ending less than a second between 1 and 2. And wonder how many times we're going to see that over the course of the season in the ones remaining. 18 points between Dennis Jordan and Yerne Simičić now, and today I think have cemented themselves as a 2-horse race now for this world title.
It's going to be tight. It's going to be tight, but Yerne's got a pretty decent gap now. It's in his hands, and he's got 2 races to claim the trophy. And therefore, actually, the championship, I should say, can be won next time out if there's big issues for Jordan. So it's going to be an interesting one. And I can't wait to see what happens on the 1st of October.
Absolutely. Join us again in 3 weeks' time for the Japanese Grand Prix, round 8 of the FSR VCO World Championship, before the finale just 2 weeks after that in the middle of October at Interlagos. Thanks so much to everyone who's been tuned in here this evening. It's been a pleasure to have you along once again. But for now, we will bid our farewells. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Cameron Rodger here in the commentary box with Daniel Costello pushing the buttons behind the scenes as well. And until we see you in 3 weeks' time at the Japanese Grand Prix, it's goodbye for now.
Hello, I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to
Who's going to break Haystack's world title?
Oh, he's done it! And look at these 2 go! Mitchy Hoyer's going to do it! His first victory!
The World Championship is done.
What a race it's been!